Welcome back to the course Introduction to Green Process Engineering. Today we will have a look at the pulp and paper industry, which is a highly relevant sector when the bio-based industry is concerned. There are two main reasons for that. On the one side, this industry processes the renewable raw material wood 24/7 all year round with high production volume. And on the other side, bio-based CO2 is emitted, which plays a role in carbon management. We have already discussed CCS and CCU and products that can be made therefrom in previous lectures. But what will we talk about in this video? First, we will explore the transition path of the pulp and paper industry. Then we will have a look at the main measures, and finally, we will discuss one specific piece of equipment as an example. Unlike other sectors, there is no defined transition pathway developed by the European Commission for the pulp and paper industry. But the Confederation of the European Paper Industry, in short CP, developed and agreed on a strategy which is called 2050 Roadmap to a Low-Carbon Bioeconomy. The pulp and paper industry is responsible for 2% of the overall industry emissions. To set that in relation to steel production is responsible for 8% of the industry emissions for primary production. Hence, the pulp and paper industry is graded as an energy-intensive industry sector. The goal of the CPZ is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 80% while creating 50% more added value until 2050. But how can that be done? Let us first check how 50% more added value shall be created by this industry. Partially, this will result from efficiency gains enabled by smarter manufacturing, better data management, and the Industry 4.0 revolution. Further, adding new functions and services to existing paper and board products, such as connectivity, water repellents or others, as well as the growth of existing product segments, such as packaging, hygienic or specialty paper, will contribute to added value. Another significant share will come from the development and growth of new bio-based products, ranging from food additives to biocomposites, from advanced biofuels to nanocellulose. These emerging bio-based products will bring even more opportunities for growth from renewable and innovative solutions and will allow the sector to move away from a fossil-based economy. Which measures are defined for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions? Energy efficiency is the first measure identified. Here, a combination of process improvements, including the transition to Industry 4.0, along with investments in state-of-the-art production technologies, are estimated to lead to a reduction of 7 million tons of CO2 by 2050. A second measure is demand-side flexibility, meaning that the cogeneration of energy enables the pulp and paper industry to engage with the energy market and adapt its energy sourcing to take advantage of low prices, in particular from surpluses of intermittent renewable energy. The associated decarbonization benefits could reach 2 million tons of CO2. The next measure is called fuel switch. It includes the use of biomass or gas-based boilers and combined heat and power for its own energy production. Further, conversion of industrial installations to low to no carbon energy sources are modeled to deliver 8 million tons of CO2 emissions reduction. The headline Emerging and Breakthrough Technologies combines breakthrough concepts. For example, the use of dibiotectic solvents in the cooking process, but also other innovative and disruptive solutions that are not further specified complement the emission reduction effort by some 5 million tons of CO2. Additionally, indirect emissions have to be decreased. In this point, the pulp and paper industry relies on the decarbonization of power production at the European level. The forest, fiber and paper industry's indirect emissions from purchased electricity is intended to gradually decrease to an additional 11 million tons of CO2 over the coming 35 years. Transport is the last measure. It is modeled to reduce the footprint of the pulp and paper industry by 4 million tons of CO2 emissions. Most improvements will come from the combination of fuel and transport efficiency, improved infrastructures, intermodality and use of alternative transport fuels such as biogas, advanced biofuels, electricity or even fuel cells. These measures should ensure that the pulp and paper industry reduces CO2 emissions by 80% by the year 2050. To transfer these numbers into a concrete example, we will discuss a specific case, the lime kiln. The lime kiln is the largest single energy consumer in a pulp and paper mill. Besides that, the lime kiln inherently produces bio-based CO2 as a reaction product during the calcination reaction. The lime kiln uses mainly natural gas and fuel oil for heat generation. But the main measure to decrease greenhouse gas emissions from this equipment is a fuel shift to carbon-neutral fuels. At pulp mills, methanol, turpentine and tall oil are isolated partially as products, but may also be available for burning in the lime kiln. These substances work well as support fuel, but they cannot normally cover the lime kiln's fuel requirements. Hence, woody biomass in the form of wood powder or lignin can be used as fuel in the lime kiln. Already today, it is possible to operate a lime kiln with 100% fuel from renewable resources, but still needs investment. Together with carbon capture and utilization, a carbon-neutral pulping process can be achieved. As already mentioned in the previous lecture, we need to transfer CO2 in long durable products. As a side note, in Austria, the emitted CO2 from the pulp and paper industry equals roughly the amount of carbon that is needed for olefin production. Let's sum up what we discussed in this video. First, we had a look at the pulp and paper industry. Even though this industry uses wood as input material, it is still required to decrease greenhouse gas emissions. Measures such as fuel switch in the lime kiln were discussed, but also the overall goal and the accompanying measures for the whole industry were presented. I hope you enjoyed watching and also take the opportunity to watch the other videos of this course.